Rymir Satterthwaite says Jay-Z is his dad. A judge just ordered Jay-Z to take a DNA test. If he refuses, he's legally considered the father. 2 days later, Rymir's car was shot up. This case has been blocked for over a decade. Jay-Z's lawyers used address tricks and delays to avoid the test. Court documents were sealed. Judges ignored evidence. Rymir says he doesn't want money, just answers. He and his guardian say they've been stalked, threatened, and silenced. They also claim Beyoncé helped shut the case down behind the scenes. All of this just to avoid one DNA test. Why? Let's go back to the beginning. A 16-year-old girl says Jay-Z got her pregnant. She named him as the father, and everything since has been a cover-up. In 1992, Wanda Satterthwaite was just 16 when she says she had a brief encounter with Jay-Z. It wasn't a relationship. It wasn't love. According to Wanda, it was a one-time hookup, and she got pregnant. She said they used protection, but the condom broke. After that, Jay-Z disappeared. No follow-up, no phone calls, just gone. And Wanda, still a teenager, was left to raise a child alone. When she gave birth, she was unconscious in the hospital. Her boyfriend at the time, Robert Graves, signed the birth certificate. Everyone close to Wanda says Robert knew the baby wasn't his, but he signed anyway to help her get government assistance like food stamps. That baby was Rymir. Wanda told people early on that Jay-Z was the real father. She didn't go to the press. She didn't try to humiliate him. She just wanted him to take responsibility. But Jay-Z never responded. Not once. Over the years, Wanda tried everything. She filed court motions. She hired lawyers. Judges told her she was wasting her time. Some lawyers disappeared. Nothing moved forward, but Wanda never backed down, and she never changed her story. As her health started to fail, she knew her time was running out. She signed a sworn affidavit naming Jay-Z as Rymir's father and passing that mission on to her son. Wanda died in 2019 of heart failure. Before she passed, she told Rymir to keep going, no matter what. She believed the truth would eventually come out, and even after death, she remained the foundation of this fight. Because for Rymir, this was never about fame. It was about proving his mother wasn't lying and finally getting the truth she never lived to see. Rymir didn't grow up with a silver spoon or even clear answers. He spent his childhood wondering who he really was. For years, he believed Robert Graves was his father, but around the age of 8, Wanda sat him down and told him the truth. Jay-Z was his real dad. At first, Rymir didn't know what that meant. He didn't grow up listening to Jay-Z's music or watching his rise. He was just a kid trying to make sense of a name that suddenly meant everything. His mother started calling him Carter, reminding him where he came from. It wasn't a nickname. It was her way of keeping the truth alive. Wanda repeated it often, not to boost Rymir's ego, but to prepare him, because she knew no one else would fight for him the way she did. She made it clear, the man on the birth certificate wasn't his real father, and one day, the world needed to know it. But the older Rymir got, the more complicated things became. At school, he dealt with questions he couldn't answer. At home, he watched his mother struggle while trying to get legal recognition from someone who had the power to make it all disappear. Wanda was exhausted. The courts wouldn't listen. Lawyers bailed. Dead ends became the norm. But she refused to let the truth die in silence. By the time she passed away in 2019, Rymir had already picked up the torch. He wasn't just trying to prove who his father was, he was trying to defend his mother's name and prove that she never lied. This wasn't just personal, it was now generational, and the legal battle was only getting started. In 2014, Rymir filed a civil paternity suit against Jay-Z. He wasn't demanding money. He wasn't looking for fame. All he wanted was one thing, a DNA test. But what followed didn't look like a normal court case. It looked like a system doing everything it could to protect someone with power. The lawsuit was filed in New Jersey, where Wanda's alleged encounter with Jay-Z happened, and where Jay-Z was rumored to own property. That detail mattered. If the court could prove Jay-Z had ties to New Jersey, they could force the DNA test. But Jay-Z's legal team had a different plan. They claimed Jay-Z didn't live in New Jersey and never had. Instead, they listed an address in New York, arguing that New Jersey courts had no jurisdiction over him. The problem? public records showed he did have property and business ties in the state. Tax filings, real estate documents, even corporate paperwork linked him to New Jersey. Still, the court sided with Jay-Z's lawyers and threw the case out. But it didn't stop there. Lily Coley, Rymir's godmother and legal guardian, says things got even more disturbing behind the scenes. She claims Wanda was forced to sign legal documents while sedated in a hospital after just coming out of a coma. She didn't even understand what she was signing. That moment gave Jay-Z's legal team a major advantage. And again, the case was shut down. Lily also believes some of Rymir's own lawyers may have secretly worked against him, introducing mistakes into the case that looked less like errors and more like sabotage. Judges didn't ask questions. They just closed the door. It wasn't just a legal delay. It felt like a coordinated wall designed to block one thing, a DNA test. And the harder they pushed, the more dangerous things became. As if fighting one of the most powerful names in music wasn't hard enough, Rymir soon realized the real danger wasn't just coming from Jay-Z's side, it might have been coming from his own. According to Lily Coley, the woman who stepped in as Rymir's legal guardian, some of the attorneys who were supposed to be helping them may have been working against them. She claims court filings were intentionally mishandled, deadlines were missed, motions were submitted incorrectly, and key documents were left out on purpose. It didn't look like sloppiness, it looked like sabotage. One lawyer even disappeared mid-case. Another allegedly made backdoor deals with opposing counsel. By the time Lily and Rymir pieced it together, years of progress had been lost, and no one could explain how it kept happening. The deeper they looked, the more it seemed like parts of the court were protecting Jay-Z at every step. Judges were rotated out without notice, hearings were canceled, and when they pushed for transparency, the court sealed records and denied motions without explanation. It didn't feel like a legal battle, it felt like a cover-up. In 2023, after nearly a decade of blockages and backdoors, Rymir and Lily filed a new lawsuit, not against Jay-Z directly, but against the court system itself. They accused New Jersey officials of fraud, obstruction, and civil rights violations. They weren't just asking for a paternity test anymore. They were demanding accountability from the very people who were supposed to protect justice. Because at this point, the case wasn't just about proving who Rymir's father was. It was about exposing how far a system will go to protect a billionaire's name. And just when things seemed like they couldn't get any worse, Rymir's life was put in danger. Just days after a federal judge ordered Jay-Z to respond to the paternity case, something terrifying happened. Rymir's car was shot up. It happened in September 2023, right outside his home. The parking lot was full of other vehicles, but only his was hit. No one else was targeted. No one else was harmed. It didn't look random. It looked like a message. Stay quiet. Back off. Rymir survived the attack, but it shook him. He said he wasn't scared for his life, but it was clear the fight had reached a dangerous level. What started as a legal battle was now physical. Lily confirmed the incident, calling it a clear act of retaliation. And this wasn't the first time they felt unsafe. She says people had driven through her yard, knocked on the door at 4 a.m., and followed them during court filings. Every time the case made progress, the threats increased. It wasn't just intimidation, it was a pattern, and that's when they started documenting everything. Photos, license plates, witness names. They went public with their story, appearing on podcasts and interviews, not just to be heard, but to be protected. Because if something happened to them, they wanted the world to know exactly why, and then came the whispers that took the case to a new level. Lily and others close to the case started pointing fingers, not just at Jay-Z, but at Beyoncé. They believed she was involved behind the scenes, working to shut everything down, not because she thought Rymir was lying, but because she feared what the truth could do to their family's brand. And as the violence increased, so did the rumors. Jay-Z wasn't just avoiding a test, he was allegedly protecting something far bigger than paternity. And Rymir? He was stuck in the middle of a billion-dollar machine, and now his safety was on the line. As pressure mounted and the threats escalated, Rymir and Lily started to believe that Jay-Z wasn't acting alone. According to Lily, Beyoncé may have been working behind the scenes to make sure the case never saw the light of day. They believe she wasn't trying to protect Jay-Z's reputation. She was trying to protect their empire. If the public ever found out Jay-Z fathered a child with a 16-year-old, it wouldn't just damage his brand, it would explode theirs, and there were signs that Beyoncé's influence was present. At one point, Jay-Z's legal team allegedly offered to sign Rymir to Roc Nation, a quiet way to settle things behind closed doors, but almost overnight, the offer disappeared. According to Lily, Beyoncé shut it down. She didn't want the scandal negotiated. She wanted it buried. Even Jay-Z's music hinted at the situation. In his song, Heard About Us, he raps, "Billie Jean in his prime, for the 1,000th time, the kid ain't mine." That wasn't a random line. It came after years of silence and directly referenced Rymir's accusations. To the outside world, it looked like a diss. To Rymir, it felt like public humiliation, so he responded the only way he knew how, with a track of his own. He released music calling Jay-Z out, not for clout, but to reclaim his voice. If Jay-Z was going to speak on it in the studio, Rymir wasn't staying silent. Still, the music industry stayed quiet. No statements, no coverage, no pressure, just silence. Because when you're up against one of the most powerful couples in entertainment, the industry doesn't ask questions. It protects its own. But even as the Carters tried to keep things quiet, the case kept moving forward. And just when it seemed like things couldn't get more complicated, an even bigger secret started leaking. By mid-2023, the courts had finally stopped protecting Jay-Z. A federal judge gave him a clear deadline: take the DNA test or be legally presumed Rymir's father under New Jersey law. He had until July 18th to respond. It was the moment Rymir had been waiting for, nearly 14 years in the making. But then, another story started surfacing, and it changed everything. Whispers began spreading about another secret child, this time a daughter. Allegedly older than Rymir, born in the early 90s, from a different woman who never went public. According to insiders, Jay-Z paid her off, bought her a house in Connecticut, made sure she never had to work again. She never filed a lawsuit. She never asked for a test, and because of that, her story never made headlines. But if true, it proves a pattern. Deny the child, pay for silence, protect the brand. Which raises a real question. Why was Rymir treated differently? The answer might be simple. Wanda was underage, and Rymir refused to stay quiet. Unlike others, he wanted the truth on record. And if the truth ever came out in court, it wouldn't just be about paternity. It could raise questions that are far more serious. Now, Rymir and Lily aren't just demanding a test. They're suing for fraud, unsealing records, and pushing for a criminal investigation into court corruption. If they win, it could lead to more lawsuits, more secret children stepping forward, and a massive media storm Jay-Z may not be able to control. Because this time, it's not just about him, it's about the system that helped him bury it all. And the countdown isn't just ticking on a DNA test, it's ticking on the truth. In 2023, a judge gave Jay-Z two choices: take the DNA test or be legally declared Rymir's father. The deadline? July 18th. But just as the pressure peaked, a new rumor exploded: Jay-Z might have another secret child. This time, a daughter, older than Rymir, allegedly born in the early 1990s and quietly taken care of. Insiders say Jay-Z bought her a home in Connecticut and paid her to stay out of the spotlight. No lawsuits, no public demands, just silence. If true, it changes everything. It shows a pattern. Cover it up, pay them off, and protect the Carter brand. Which raises the question, why fight Rymir so hard? Maybe because Wanda was underage, and maybe because Rymir refused to disappear. Unlike the others, he didn't want money. He wanted answers. And now, he's demanding more than a DNA test. He and Lily are suing the courts for fraud, demanding sealed records be opened, and pushing for a criminal investigation. Because this fight isn't just about Jay-Z anymore. It's about a legal system that may have helped him hide it all. And if they lose control of the narrative now, it won't just be one scandal. It could be the unraveling of Jay-Z's entire legacy.